Hi everyone, this is Sarah again. While I was just sitting here waiting for Samir to wake up, I figured that I might do a Excel tutorial. So for those that have listened to my first two videos, I've come from a finance background before being a stay-at-home mum. Um, Excel was like one of my closest friends. With this in mind, I figured that I would help others to learn how to use Excel, some of the basic functions. This tutorial we're going to cover if statements. We'll write these down. Ifs, VLOOKUPs, um, COUNTIFs. Yeah, that will do for today. Okay, so first things first, let me just explain. I have first name, last name, gender, which we're going to fill in, salary, and at least. Now, this the data in yellow is the data that I've added in just randomly. They are not related to anyone that I know or anyone in particular. Um, and the sections in white, which I will actually change to red. Whoops, wrong button. Red. Let's make the text black, silly me. Are going to be the sections that we fill in using one of the formulas. Okay, now on sheet 1, so this sheet is named internal all. This sheet 1 is where we're going to obtain our gender information from. So if I name this, this is with the idea that if someone had a name of John, then they would be gender male. Now, say for example, we were in a real life situation and we worked in the HR department and we needed this file for salary purposes, for example, and analysis purposes, and we had a new starter who was named Patrick, and we would then say, okay, anyone named Patrick is going to be a man, and we would then add them to the new list. So we would have his first name would be Patrick, last name Johnson. As you can see, I am very creative with my names. Salary, I don't know. Let's make him, he's low paid, 600. Color these both in red, which you can do if you just highlight the row or highlight the section that you'd like to copy. And this button up here, the format painter, that basically means make this the same format as the one above. See? Went red. Pretty easy to do. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start with VLOOKUP, and that will be for the gender. Now, the idea behind a VLOOKUP is it begins with the lookup value followed by the table where you're going to get the information, followed by the column number that you want Excel to bring back the answer. This will make a lot more sense in a moment, but it's the column that you would like the result to come from. So we say column result, followed by similarities, cannot spell. We'll just say similar versus exact. Let me just make sure this is correct. VLOOKUP. Open. Lookup, table, column, range. Perfect. I was right. Got to be sure these days. Okay, so we'll start with gender, because that is going to be the one that we are going to reference to a table. Okay, so we'll begin. Equals. Now the question is equals VLOOKUP. You always start with your formula, open the bracket, and underneath, so here, it shows you the sequence in case you get confused as to which sequence, which order you have to do things. It runs it along the bottom for you. So we have equals VLOOKUP. What would you like to look up? We would like to look up John's name, first name, comma, right. Table array, where would you like to look this up? We go to sheet 1. We would like to look it up in this table. Notice I've selected the whole table because we're going to use this table repeatedly for the entire column of gender. Now I'm going to hit F4. Notice the dollar signs. That basically means no matter where I move this formula, always reference back to this table, because this table is not going to move. Okay, now we go back, comma. Go back to our page just so that we can stay referenced. I can delete that. Excel sometimes does that. It doesn't make a difference if that has stayed there, but I just like to delete it so it's clean. So far we have lookup value, check. Table, where is the table? It's in sheet 1, A2 to B9. And remember, we have pressed F4 to make sure that the Excel knows the table is not going to move. Column index number. Now, with a VLOOKUP, the first column, which in this case is column A, see, is where you're going to find, there is that pesky thing again, is where you're going to find John's name. It's where you're going to find the column value. There's nothing you can do about that, as far as I'm aware, at this level. So what Excel is saying is, okay, if I find John's name in sheet 1, column A, what column do I bring you the answer back? So in this example, it would be column B. But B doesn't mean anything to Excel. They like numbers. So we say we would like you to bring back column 2 because it is the second column and the first column after John. So if John is column 1, his gender is column 2 as per the table. Right, then we do comma again. And it says, do you want us to give you an approximate match or does it have to be exact? We would like it to be exact because he's either male or female. If you find John's name and it's not John, it's Johnny with maybe an I and an E and it's a lady's name or whatever, don't try and bring me back the answer for Johnny's gender. I'm asking for John's. So we would say false. And we close the bracket. And we hit enter. Okay, perfect. John, male. Now if we drag this down, you use this, if you go to the corner of the box, it changes to a cross. That allows you to drag it down. Perfect, this all filled in. Now what I want to do, I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to do it again and show you what would happen if I didn't hit F4. So we have equals VLOOKUP, open brackets, lookup value is the first name, comma, find it in this table, I'm not going to hit F4 this time, just so I can show you. Comma, go back to the internal. We would like you to bring back the second column, and we'd like exact matches. Perfect. Close that. Male. Perfect. Looks absolutely fine. Now, if I drag this down though, note what happens. They happen as NA. Now, why is that? It's because if we look at it, it's saying look up Pauline, perfect, A8, in sheet 1, A7 to B14. We go to sheet 1, A7 to B14, which would be that. Now, Pauline appears in A4, B4, so the table shouldn't have moved, which is where the dollar signs come in. So I've gone in and changed that, and I can drag it down again. Perfect. That is now complete. Right, VLOOKUPs complete. Right. Now, let's do at least. Now, with this column, I wasn't very creative with my Excel tool or my Excel spreadsheet. I wanted to figure out what a practical scenario where you may need an if function. Okay, so at least this column is saying if John Smith, because there's a few Johns, if John Smith's salary is at least 2,000, give me a yes, or give me a Y in this case. And we want to say if it's not at least 2,000, then give me an N for no. Now, an if function is probably, people say, is probably one of the hardest. It's not when you're logical. Everything has to be logical. So let me just quickly do it equals if, so we can make sure that we got it right. Comma. Logical, true, false. Perfect. Okay, so now with a if function, it always starts. You have the scenario, what to return if it's true, what if true, what if false. Under scenario, in brackets, I'm going to put what are we testing. What are we testing? Close bracket. Just so that you can see what I mean by scenario. Okay, so now we're ready. Okay, like normal, equals if. Open the bracket. Again, you get little helpers. So we're saying if what? If what? If the salary is less than 2,000, comma, what do you want me to, what do we want Excel to do if it's true? If his salary, John Smith's salary, is less than 2,000, we would like you to say yes. Now, with Excel, you can't just write yes like that because it gets a bit confused. If you're going to use text, you need to put it in quotation marks. Comma. Okay, so if John earns more than 2,000, do we want it to say no? Or is that the wrong way around? If D3 is smaller, no, because we didn't say more, we said at least. If D3 is bigger, we change it around. If D3 is bigger than F2, if 1,000 is bigger than 2,000, put yes. And if 1,000 is smaller than F2, meaning that he isn't earning enough money, then put no. This is a scenario as though we had minimum wage. Say they change the minimum wage monthly salary from 1,000 to 2,000. This would be an example where you would say, I need to quickly check all my employees to make sure that they're earning at least minimum wage. and then you'd be able to filter and show which ones are earning too little, and therefore you would give them a salary increase. Right, we close the bracket, we hit enter. Right, so that's correct. Is John earning at least 2,000? No, he's not. Now we're going to drag this down and we'll see what happens. Perfect. No. Yes, yes. No, this is incorrect. Why? Let me give you a moment to think about it. Just because we didn't get an NA doesn't mean it isn't wrong. We have to think about this logically. What did we miss? We forgot the dollar signs. So we do that again. If D3 is going to move as we drag them down. We want it to go to E3, D3, D4, D5, D6, D7, D8, D9, D10. So that is going to change. That doesn't stay the same. F2 does not move. So F2 should be in dollar signs. Hit enter. Now we drag it through and see if we get different results. Exactly. Because that wasn't right before. Pauline Smith, 1,700 is less than 2,000. It's less. 1,547 is less than 2,000. 600 is less than 2,000. Now, I've noticed another issue, which is another addition to make sure that you pay attention to. 2,000, now, depending on the rule, depending on what the legislation, for example, would say, is what if someone's earning exactly 2,000? What happens in that scenario? Now, in my opinion, if you're earning at least 2,000, that in this scenario means 2,000 and above. So if that's the case, we would say we would need to put in an equal sign. So we would say, is D3 bigger than or equals to F2? That's the wrong way around. Let's see if it will auto correct it for me. It might do. Ah, it was fine. It accepted it. Perfect. Drag it down. That is now changed, because you have to make sure that you think about things logically. So if it was okay to be as it was, and 2,000 was classed as being less than the salary, it would have been fine as it was. But in this scenario, in my opinion, if you earn 2,000, you earn at least 2,000. So it needs to have the equal sign in there. Now, the reason why I did it separately, because you could have actually just put 2,000 in where it says F2. The reason why I did it is because, say you want to change things. That's why we have formulas. You want to say, what about if they said, actually, we've changed our minds. If they earn at least 1,500, that's fine. Note that these two changed, because earning at least 1,500 changes the result for these two, because they now earn at least 1,500. And that is how you do an if function. Okay, now COUNTIFs used to be one of my favorites. I use them a lot in credit control, and a lot in some ad hoc reporting that I used to do. So we will put their answers here. We'll do them one by one, which will give you a few examples, which should be able to help make these red. Perfect. Okay, so how many make the minimum amount? A COUNTIF is very, very, very simple. It is very logical. You literally think about it as is. COUNTIF. Literally, I'm saying, we'll make sure it's in the right order, so I'm not telling you COUNTIF. Okay, this is really simple. You do the range that you're interested in, and the scenario. Just like above, what are we testing? Now in Excel you can make things as simple as you want. There could be a really complicated version of this, but COUNTIF has come, it just makes things a lot more simple. You can literally say equals COUNTIF, how many people make the minimum amount? COUNTIF. You could say, you could do it a number of ways. You could say look at salary, that's the range. The criteria would be larger than. We would say again larger than or equals to, just to be on the safe side. Close the bracket. It didn't like that at all. This is an example where if you are stressing about doing something and it didn't work the way that you think it should have, there's always an alternative. So instead we can do COUNTIF these. If they make the minimum amount, then in that bracket would say yes, correct? COUNTIF in there, in quotations because we're using text, it says yes, close the brackets. 5, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know that works. How many are men? Equals, again, where does it say men? Men is in gender C, is in column C. Equals COUNTIF, open the bracket, select the ones that you're interested in, close the bracket. You're going to use M or F, so you want to use the quotation marks and the text, and close it. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. How many Johns? Again, equals COUNTIF, open the bracket, go to where the names are stored, comma. Again, you're going to be using text. So we have John, close the quotation and close the bracket. Hit enter. Got 2 Johns, 1 and 2. Perfect. And that is my mini tutorial on some formulae to use in Excel.